There's been a lot of talk of late, and it's interesting because when this first started, I think people thought, oh, this is going to be interesting, it'd be kind of fun. We're kind of catching up to the U.S., right? Sports betting allowed in Canada, at least in some parts anyway. And then the next thing you know, you can't turn on a sporting event in this country. You turn on a hockey game. These ads seem to run literally every single break. And not only that, but then during the game, the boards where they can now put messages on are pushing the same thing. Sports betting available to everyone to do, easy enough to do from your phone. And that obviously has now gotten a lot of people very concerned because there are too many kids. And it's interesting, Natasha, your daughter's only 11. This is not aimed at her.
No.
But some of these ads are so colorful and so kind of exciting looking that she's into this now.
She's been asking me so many questions about it. And I'm thinking that is highly problematic, that it's grabbed her attention, that she's curious. And it makes me a little worried about where we're headed from here.
They're everywhere. You can't get away from them. That in itself is a problem. Our guest, Peter Donnelly, is Professor Emeritus of Sport Policy and Politics at the University of Toronto and a member of the campaign to ban ads for gambling. Mr. Donnelly, thanks for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
People who are in this business to get, those of us to sort of spend our money on betting on sports, I guess have been petitioning for quite a long time to basically have a level playing field here because they've been doing this in the U.S. for quite a while. Was this out of control from the get-go, or has it gotten worse over time?
I think the legislation was put in without sufficient thought to regulation. It was an attempt to prevent so much Canadian money going to offshore betting sites, which it was, and to bring it within the Canadian government control and regulation. But while governments are getting a piece of this, they haven't thought through the process of how to prevent the advertising being aimed at children or people who have already found that they are gambling addicted.
So I guess my next question would be: is there a way for this to work by aiming it specifically at the right people, as opposed to just basically throwing this against the wall and you don't care whose money you're going to take, you just want to make money if you're in this business? How do we modify without getting rid of it altogether? Can that be done?
I think so, yeah. I think that there are ways to do this. In other countries, they have what's called whistle-to-whistle bans, so there is no mention of gambling during the actual game that's being broadcast live. Other places have determined that before a certain time at night there should be no betting advertising. I think we have to think of this in the same way that we regulate alcohol advertising and particularly tobacco and cannabis advertising.
Right, you would never be allowed to have a beer ad or you can't have cigarette ads on TV anyway, but you would never be allowed to have an alcohol ad, let's say, that was animated and colorful and sort of visually appealing to kids. And that's what I find so disturbing about this now. And it wasn't always like that. There was a shift. The gambling ads used to be fewer and far between, but they were also sort of they were sexy. Do you know what I mean? They were very adult oriented. And then there was been a distinct shift where they became colorful and animated. You would never be allowed to do that with beer. So why is it being tolerated with gambling?
Well, clearly it's not being tolerated by you or me. It's not being regulated yet, but I suspect that regulation will be coming because I hear that a lot of MPs, MLAs, MPPs across Canada are hearing a lot from their constituents about this, and so I think the regulation will be coming. It would be sooner, better than later, but I think it does need to happen.
I wonder, though, if we were talking in the U.S., we'd be talking about lobby groups because this represents literally millions, maybe billions of dollars in terms of an industry. Is there pushback here from what you know from the industry?
I think there is all kinds of pushback behind the scenes, but they have inserted themselves into this process in a really interesting way by partnering with professional leagues, by partnering with media corporations, and by making a lot of money for both professional leagues and media corporations. And in that way, I think that we need to be really concerned about all kinds of things, from conflicts of interest to whatever in terms of the actual health and addiction risks from this.
So let's delve into that a little bit. So the idea here being that if kids, the earlier that people get involved in gambling, the higher the chances are that it's going to be addictive for them. Is that correct?
I don't know that data, but the data are that if you get them early, then you're going to have more people interested in gambling, and a certain percentage of those,
right.
and I've heard figures up to 3%, maybe more than that, of those people who are gambling are at risk.
Okay, and the idea here being that they're targeting young people, or at least it seems that way. So
they're targeting the next generation of bettors.
Which is crazy,
just
huh?
like the tobacco companies did.
Yeah, setting them up.
But is there no sort of gate here where if you're a 10-year-old or 12-year-old looking at this thinking, this looks kind of like fun, where are the safeguards built into the system to keep you from being able to get on there and spend money or do that? Are they there?
If you can find somebody who can, who is irresponsible enough and old enough to have an account, who will bet for you, I think the door is open already.
I mean, it's like booze and cigarettes, right? If you want it, you can always find access one way or another. Let's talk about this campaign that's started now to try and have these gambling ads banned entirely. So not just regulated, not just controlled, but totally and completely banned. And we've got Rafi on board. I think there's Clara Hughes, right? And PK Subban's dad, Carl Subban, all speaking out about this. Do you think that's an actual possibility that it could go so far as to have these ads banned completely?
Well, you call for the best possible, and then perhaps it gets negotiated in a way. But certainly, the ideal would be a ban. There's no tobacco advertising. There's no cannabis advertising on mainstream media for very good reasons. And we think there are very good reasons for not having gambling advertising as well.
We are going to run out of time here. I'm just curious. You talk about, Natasha mentioned some people, celebrities behind the push to ban it. Anecdotally, when you talk to people, what are people saying to you? Are there plenty of people out there who think, no, this is fine. I can control this. I only bet a little here, a little bit there. Are there as many of them as one might think?
I haven't heard any of that. I mean, the people who were gambling before now have a more easy access to it than to more reliable services than when they were betting all offshore with fly-by-night firms in the Philippines and other places. But now it's more. It's much more regulated and controlled for the actual process, but not in terms of who its target audiences are.
I wonder also if they shouldn't be allowed to have, idols, kids' idols, advertising for them, like promoting them.
I'm not sure Wayne Gretzky is a kid's idol anymore.
No, but Connor McDavid.
Certainly, Austin Matthews is a kid's idol.
Yeah, it's highly problematic.
Well, look, you mentioned government is paying attention to this, so maybe we will start to see something begin to change here. Enough people get on the bandwagon. I think a lot of us are concerned with it. So, Mr. Donnelly, Professor, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Professor Peter Donnelly over at the University of Toronto. You're concerned for a 10 and 11-year-old. Imagine, kids a little bit older, 14, 15, 16, who do this because it's on their phone. And just, spending that money, and then how long till that comes back and bites you in the backside? I
think people think, whatever, it's harmless. Yeah. It's harmless for some people. It's harmless for some people who don't have that addictive personality. But if you do this, it's far from harmless.